I used to think my father's favoritism was something I could manage if I kept my expectations low enough, not fix, not challenge, just manage. By the time I was 36, I'd spent most of my life watching him perform generosity for certain people while offering obligation to others. My older brother's children got vacations, electronics, savings bonds with their names engraved in silver. My daughter, Lila, usually got whatever could be pulled from a gas station shelf on the drive over. I told myself she was too young to notice. That lie expired on her 8th birthday. We held the party in my parents' backyard because my mother insisted family gatherings felt warmer there, though warmth had never been the defining feature of that house. Pink streamers moved in the dry breeze. Cake sat sweating beneath plastic wrap. My brother's twins were running through sprinklers wearing matching designer sandals. My father had bragged about buying them. Leela wore a yellow dress she'd chosen herself. She had been excited all week, mostly because she still believed birthdays made people kinder. When it came time for presents, everyone gathered around the patio. My father leaned back in his chair, smiling in that way he always did when he thought he was being clever rather than cruel. "Saved mine for last," he announced. He handed Lila a long, narrow box. She looked at me first, grinning, then carefully opened it. Inside was a stick. A literal stick, not carved, not painted, not attached to anything, just a dry branch about a foot long with a faded ribbon tied around it. For a second, nobody reacted because it was too absurd to process. Then my brother laughed. His wife laughed louder. One of the twins asked, "Is that a dog toy?" My father chuckled and said, "Expensive gifts are for other grandkids. This one can use her imagination." A few people laughed again, though less confidently. Leela looked down at the stick in her lap. She didn't cry. That somehow made it worse. She just nodded once, small and confused, in the way children do when they're trying to understand whether humiliation is supposed to feel normal. Something in me went still, not explosive, not dramatic, just finished. I knelt beside her, touched her shoulder, and quietly said, "Why don't you go inside with Grandma for a minute?" My mother, for once, didn't defend him. She simply took Lila's hand and walked her in. The yard remained awkwardly suspended between discomfort and denial. My father rolled his eyes. "Oh, come on," he said. It was a joke. I stood. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like his daughter. I felt like the executive director of the senior care investment group that legally controlled the refinancing extension on his retirement community development project. My father had spent the last year depending heavily on my firm's approval to prevent his latest business expansion from collapsing under debt restructuring. He'd always separated me into categories: his daughter emotionally, his resource professionally. He'd apparently forgotten those categories could meet. I spoke evenly. "You're right," I said. It was revealing. He frowned, finally sensing something shift. My brother muttered, "Don't be dramatic." But I wasn't speaking to them anymore. I pulled out my phone, stepped away, and made one call to our compliance officer, whose concerns about my father's financial conduct I had been softening for months out of family loyalty. No lies, no sabotage, no revenge. Just removal of protection. I requested a formal pause on discretionary approvals pending full ethical review. By policy, given certain prior concerns, that pause would trigger immediately Monday morning. My father's face changed before I even ended the call. "What did you just do?" I looked at him, really looked at him, and realized age had not made him wiser, just more accustomed to impunity. I stopped confusing access with entitlement. Silence, not movie silence, real silence. The kind where people suddenly become aware of every lawn chair creak and distant barking dog because no one knows how to restore normalcy. My brother stood up, angry now. "You do that over a joke," I answered him without raising my voice. "No, over a pattern." My mother came back outside then, Lila tucked quietly beside her. Lila had a slice of cake in her hand. She avoided looking at the gift table. That image did more damage to the room than my words ever could. My father sputtered about overreaction, family betrayal, business being separate. But everyone there had just witnessed exactly how separate he'd chosen to make family when it suited him. No one laughed this time. Within 3 months, The review exposed enough questionable decisions that his expansion deal was permanently suspended. He wasn't ruined, but he was forced into a smaller, far less prestigious retirement. For the first time, consequences applied to him at the same scale as his arrogance. We stopped attending most family events after that, not out of vengeance. Out of clarity. Lila is 12 now. She barely remembers the stick itself, but I remember. I remember the moment I understood that protecting my child sometimes meant disappointing the people who taught me endurance at the expense of dignity. My father still tells people I destroyed his future over a misunderstanding. Maybe that's easier for him than admitting he publicly taught his granddaughter what she was worth in his eyes and discovered I was finally paying attention. I didn't win anything that day. I lost the illusion that silence was maturity, and in its place I gave my daughter something better than expensive gifts. I gave her proof that being loved properly should never require accepting humiliation.